January 20th, 1935, Alvin Karpis is now the only core member of the Barker Karpis gang who is still both alive and free. He's in Atlantic City, where he nearly gets arrested, does get into a gunfight with some cops. His girl Dolores gets shot in the leg and captured. Karpis and an associate escape, steal a 1934 Pontiac Special and skip town. And then near Allentown, Pennsylvania, as they're driving away, they end up driving behind a 1934 Plymouth that has a doctor's emblem on the rear bumper, and they pull alongside and yell at the driver, "Stay police, we want to talk to you." When the driver pulls over, Karpis' associate quickly jumps in, commandeers the car, makes the driver move over into the passenger seat, follows behind, and then Karpis follows behind this Pontiac until they come to the side of the road. Alvin parks, leaves the Pontiac running, jumps into the Plymouth, and they drive away. Because he knows when cops would find the Pontiac, they would think that Alvin and Harry just, ran out of gas, this associate of his, and were on foot. Well, the man who they carjacked, Dr. Horace Hunsicker, turned out to be a pretty pleasant fellow who told them he'd been visiting his parents and was returning to Allentown Hospital. He said if he was gone for a few hours, no one would miss him, and seemed to actually enjoy this sudden adventure. And I guess they got along like they were old buddies, mostly because Karpis didn't actually tell them why they were really running and who they really were. The doctor emblems on the bumpers worked like a charm. They ran into a police roadblock on the way towards Altoona, but when the cops saw the doctor's emblems, they just get waved on through. Finally, they reach Ohio. They stop at the Grange Hall in Wadsworth, Ohio, where they take Dr. Hunsicker into the basement, tie him up near a furnace so it'll stay warm. By this time, he realized who they were and was afraid they were going to kill him. But they told him not to worry, stuck a $50 bill in his breast pocket so he had the money to return home when somebody freed him. November 7th, 1935, Karpis is back at it. He's assembled a new gang and robs a mail truck for $72,000 in cash, $53,000 in bonds, the equivalent of over $2 million in today's dollars. Man, just right back at it. September 1935, Karpis commits what will be his last robbery. He and his new gang rob a mail train expecting to get $180,000, but they had the day wrong, and they ended up only getting $34,000 in cash, a little over $12,000 in bonds. And unbeknownst to him, the feds are now closing in on him. May 1st, 1936, a team of federal agents surrounds the apartment that Alvin Karpis is staying in New Orleans. They bring him out, subdue him. One of the men shouts, "We've got him, Chief, it's all clear." From the corner of his eye, Alvin then sees two men approach who had been waiting in the wings out of sight, even though the narrative at the time would be that they actively, arrested him. He recognized them as being FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and Associate Director Clyde Tolson. Both had traveled to New Orleans to be there for the arrest of public enemy number one. J. Edgar Hoover, gotta suck that dude someday. He was the director, check this out. He was the director of the FBI, and I don't have these numbers wrong, from 1924 to 1972. And he didn't step down in 1972, he finally died at the age of 77. Allegedly, part of why he stayed in power for damn near 50 years was because even presidents were afraid of him. He had dirt on everybody. He was also rumored to be the lover of Associate Director Tolson. Makes the story more interesting. The two bastards would ride together to and from work, eat lunch together, work together, vacation together. When Hoover died, he left his estate to Tolson. Tolson moved into his home. Tolson got the flag from from J. Edgar Hoover's coffin at his funeral. And then, J. Edgar Hoover also lived his entire life in Washington, D.C. What an interesting bio. Anyway, as for Karpis, he'd spend the next 26 years in prison. From August 1936 to April 1962, he'd be incarcerated in the newly constructed Alcatraz, a place I toured once when visiting San Francisco. He joined the other remaining living member of the Barker Karpis gang, Arthur Doc Baker, who's already in prison there, right, serving a life sentence for the kidnapping of Edward Bremer. He served the longest sentence out of any Alcatraz prisoner yet, and as I said before, he met a young man, Charles Manson, in Alcatraz, who was briefly in prison there for the Manson family murders. Teaches him how to play guitar. And then in 1939, Doc Barker tries to escape from Alcatraz. Of course he did, man. The Barker boys, they just couldn't just stay there. They just couldn't write out, life sentence. Of course they couldn't. January 13th, 1939, Barker and fellow inmates Dale Stamphill, Henry Young, Rufus McCain,